Alrighty guys, welcome back to Star Wars Review. Today I am reviewing Star Wars Andor Season 1 Episode 7 Announcement, which was directed by Benjamin Caron and written by Stephen Scheif, and was released on October 19th, 2022. So yeah, which was another good episode. It's kind of more of a transition episode, I guess. Kind of deals with some of the fallout of the last two arcs, while also setting up the rest of the season. Yeah, saying that makes it kind of sound like it's a filler episode, but that's not the case. It is, once again, another slower episode, but there are several great moments. Honestly, maybe some of my favorite moments from the season so far, which I feel like I say that every episode. But, you know, just some really, really great character moments. This moment between two characters. I really loved it. Once again, you know, I've just been loving the series so far. But I'll just dive into the episode. It does, you know, focus on all the characters once again. After last episode was pretty much more about Cassian and the Aldhani crew. This one goes back to all the characters on Coruscant. In fact, we really don't see much of Cassian until the second half of the episode. So, you know, pretty much most of the second half is Cassian, but the first half definitely shows up a lot more of the other characters. But, you know, once again, that's not a bad thing. I've been loving all the characters so far. First, I'll just kind of go through each character and what happens to them in the episode. First, we see Cyril Karn. He's kind of getting ready for an interview with the Bureau of Standards, which I guess is Uncle Harlow sent him up for the interview. But Cyril's mother, Edie, I think is her name, you know, doesn't like his suit. And she tells him that it makes him look like someone who isn't sure of himself and wants attention. But Cyril then hears the news, and they're talking about the attack or the heist on Aldhani, which he kind of talks to Edie about the attack and whatnot. But later we see him doing the interview. He talks about what happened in the Morlana sector and, you know, whatnot, what he was trying to do the right thing, which he gets a job. And then later in the episode, we see him working, doing stuff, and it's very, like, boring, kind of almost dystopian setting. But, you know, I'm still wondering where he's going. You know, I would assume he's probably going to maybe team up with Dedra Miro, you know, in the ISB, and, you know, later on. But, you know, I do think there is maybe possibility he could go the other way. So far, you know, I'm with him in this episode talking about, you know, the laws and that, you know, they're thinking they have the laws for a purpose. You know, I don't think he's very likable. So I do kind of hope he goes more down the Imperial route, but I could definitely see where it's the other way. But talking about the Imperials and the ISB, we do get a lot of stuff there. Once again, great stuff. It starts with a speech from Colonel Wilhoff Yularen, who has appeared in previous Star Wars stories, mainly the Clone Wars. We also do see him in the Death Star meeting room in A New Hope. He is just a background character in that one, but in this episode, kind of see him telling the ISB, you know, just really some new laws the Empire will have going forward, which is pretty much just strengthening their grip on the galaxy, you know, giving the ISB more power and, you know, more stricter laws for people who, you know, even slightly do something wrong, which, you know, we do actually see that later in the episode, which I'll get into then. But afterwards, we see Miro going to this one dude asking for some info on stolen Imperial equipment, just all across the galaxy, to maybe, you know, figure out more about what the rebels are doing and whatnot. Which we see in a meeting later, the other Imperial, Blevin, tried to get Miro in trouble for doing it, but Miro, you know, makes her case for why she did it and whatnot, and, you know, talking about the rebels taking and using the equipment and all that, which Major Partagaz, kind of likes that Miro did that. And, eventually he gives the Morlana sector to her, which it was under Blevins' jurisdiction. But, we do get more with Luthen in this episode. He's still, just at his shop. Starts with him listening to like a report about Aldhani and whatnot. During it, we do learn that the Donnie, the people of Aldhani, have been arrested for the heist. And I guess the Imperials are saying that they had a part in it, which obviously isn't true. But Mon Mothma arrives at the shop unannounced, which it's under the disguise of returning the artifact she took in episode 4. But, she asks Luthen if the heist was him, which at first he tries to play it off like it wasn't. But Mothma, doesn't believe him, and so he reveals that it was him. And, Mothma is upset about it. Kind of seems like she thinks maybe Luthen maybe went a little too far. But, he says that they need the credits to start a revolution. And he also says that they need to strike fear into the Empire also. Which, Mothma, like I said, doesn't like, that he did that, and definitely without telling her. But, she is supposed to have a meeting with someone who might help her, continue to get credits from her family's fund and whatnot. Which Luthen tells her to, tell him how the meeting goes. Which she leaves afterwards, and then we see her later do that meeting, which it's she's at her apartment during this party where she meets up with an old friend of hers named Tay Kolma, which this scene was great. I really loved this scene. It was like 6 or 7 minutes long, just straight, no like cutting to anything else. I really loved it. Mothma, at the start, just maybe not, fully knows that she can trust Kolma with the info, which, throughout the conversation, she's, very vague about everything. But Kolma does say that he's grown weary of the Empire, that his politics might be too much for her tastes, which, obviously, Mothma then kind of, maybe starts to feel like she can trust him a little more, and she starts telling him a little more stuff. She tells him that the Mon Mothma everyone knows, the senator, is all lie, a deception, so that no one can, figure out what she's really doing, which she doesn't tell Kolma what, she's really doing, but she does tell him that she needs to access her family's fortune because, she needs the money, and Kolma, I guess, is a banker, and they'll make it under the disguise of a foundation so that he can just take the money from Mothma's family, fund and whatnot, and Mothma will be able to use it for the rebellion. But, it is kind of left unresolved. Mothma ends the conversation with saying the exact same thing Kolma said, saying that her politics might be too much for his taste. So, it definitely seems like there's maybe some agreeing there, but, it is left unresolved for now. I assume in the next few episodes we'll see more of this. But we do get more of Luthen's kind of assistant, I guess. Clea, she's walking throughout Coruscant. It's kind of just a long scene of her just walking and whatnot. She comes across the stormtroopers, which I do want to mention that because it's the first time we see stormtroopers in the show. But, she's meeting up with Vel, about the heist and whatnot, which it seems like Luthen already has the money. Clea tells her about, like, the members and whatnot. Talks about Skeen and how Luthen had doubts about him. Vel does asks about Cinta, which Clea says that she's doing what she was told to do, which there are, like, 2 scenes with Cinta. She's still on Aldhani. She's kind of taking this speeder, like, off of out and whatnot, and she sees a Star Destroyer arrive on the planet. And then the other scenes are riding this little speeder thingy through the mountains. I'm not sure what Cynthia is still doing on Aldani. I would assume we'll learn more in the next few episodes. But, Clea and Vel are still talking, and, comes up to the last member, Cassian, and, obviously that's a loose end for Luthen and whatnot. And Clea tells Vel that she needs to, find Cassian, and, Clea doesn't say this, but Vel says, to kill him, which, is what Luthen and Clea want Vel to do, which Clea says that Cassian can't go walking around with, Luthen in his head, which, talking about Cassian, we see him head back to Ferrix. It's nighttime, and he goes to Marva and B2, who are excited to see him, but Marva tells him, what happened on Ferrix and whatnot, and how the Imperials came. She reveals that Tim Carla was the one who turned him, but he died trying to go after Bix, which Marva doesn't know the full story, but she tells Cassian that, he can't stay because of the Imperials, which Cassian tells him that they aren't staying, and that he scored big, and that he's going to get them off world right now, and leave right that second, which Marva's kind of seemingly indifferent about it, which she convinces Cassian to wait till the morning, which Cassian agrees, and then he goes off to talk to Bix, which he meets up with her, and she tells him some of the same things as Marva, that he shouldn't be there, but then they talk about Tim and whatnot, but Cassian does ask her about Luthen, and how Luthen knew so much about him, which, Cassian seems like he thinks that Bix told Luthen, but Bix says that, she didn't, and that even, Luthen knew the Corbos were after him, but, Cassian tells her to tell Luthen that he did his end of the deal and to forget about him, which he then gives her a bunch of credits that he owes everyone, but he then starts heading back to Marva's place, which along the way he comes across some stormtroopers. He kind of hides, but their footsteps makes him remember back to when the clones, I guess, were taking over Ferrix, I guess probably the early days of the Empire, and there's some, people of Ferrix trying to go after the clones, and Cassian's adopted father, Clem, tries to stop them, because it'll just make the situation worse, but, that ends up getting Clem killed, but he then heads back to Marva, who tells him that she's not going, which the reason being is the rebellion and the attack on Aldani. She, sees that people are, finally standing up to the Empire, and that there's heroes are willing to do what's right. So she wants to stay on Ferrix and fight for her home, which, Cassian doesn't understand that. He, also doesn't believe, I guess, in the, rebellion, even though he was one of those heroes Marva is talking about. But during this moment there, remembers back to when Clem died and was hung in the town. He remembers going after some clones. But, he tells Marva that Aldani was just simply a robbery, wasn't anything more than that. But, Marva doesn't believe that, and, she believes in the rebellion, but she tells him to, take his money and go and find some peace elsewhere, which, he says he'll be, worried about her the entire time, which she responds by saying that's just love. That was a great moment. I really love that moment. But, she says that he can't stay and that she can't go, which, like I said, Cassian just, doesn't understand all of it. And so he starts to leave, which Marva tells him that also to stop looking for her sister, as there weren't any survivors on Kenari. But, Cassian leaves, saying that he'll be back, which Marva says, of course he will. And she then picks up her blaster, goes to sit down, I guess. But we then see Cassian on this beach planet called Niemos, where I guess Cassian started a new life as Keith Giergo, where, he accidentally gets into trouble. He just kind of walk into the store, and there's some people getting chased by some shore troopers. And while on his way to the store, he kind of runs into a trooper who finds him suspicious, and Cassian tries to talk his way out of it, just making everything worse for him. Obviously, Cassian didn't do anything wrong, but obviously he was acting suspicious. But the trooper has to deal with the people who are actually doing stuff, and so this KX droid comes to look over Cassian and starts to choke Cassian. So I would assume this is probably seemingly the first time Cassian has encountered a KX droid. Obviously, it wasn't a pleasant time, and it's kind of funny because he'll, obviously end up having one as his companion. But we later see Cassian in court, and he gets sentenced to 6 years in prison for something which he didn't do, and also as mentioned that it used to be only a 6-month sentence, but got changed because of all the stuff earlier in the episode, the ISB and Aldani and whatnot. So yeah, but going off the trailers, it definitely seemed like Cassian was going to be in prison. After all last week's episode, I assumed it was probably because he was going to get in trouble for Aldani, but it ends up being for doing absolutely nothing. And his sentence ends up being longer because of Aldani. Obviously, he won't serve that entire 6 years because Rogue One takes place 5 years after this episode, and he dies in that movie. So, and he's very obviously not in prison. So, I would assume in the probably another 2-3 episode arc of him in prison, and he'll escape somehow, maybe with the help of Luthen. I don't know, but I don't know. Really like this episode. Like I said earlier, it was kind of a transition episode. Kind of dealing with some of the fallout, the stuff on Aldani, kind of picking back up some of the stuff on Ferrix, while also setting up Cassian going to prison, and stuff with other characters also. But there's still some really, really great scenes in this episode. I love the moment with Mothma and Luthen. It was a lot like the moment in episode 4. So just more of the same there. I really, really like the stuff with Mothma and Taikoma. I really loved everything with Marva. Fiona Shaw has been excellent in every scene she's been in yet, and this episode was some of my favorite stuff yet with her. But I liked everything with the ISB and Cassian, and with Cassian, I do think getting wrongly sent to prison maybe going to be another big moment for him, and wanting to fight the Empire. But I've been loving this series so far. Excited for the final 5 episodes of season 1 and then season 2. But my grade for this episode, I'm going to give it an A. So yeah. Anyways, that's going to be it for this one. I'll be doing a review of episode 8 when that comes out, so you can check that out then. But in the meantime, you can check out my reviews on the first 6 episodes and everything else I do. But as far as I'll catch you guys in the next one.
As long as everyone thinks I'm an irritation, there's a good chance they'll miss what I'm really doing.
What are you really doing?
This is what revolution looks like.